In communist Vietnam, this is what happens to the boat people. Wearing prison uniforms, they face sentences of up to 12 years for trying to leave their country. In Hong Kong, the boat people are also behind bars. So far, they've had the chance to settle in the West. Now Britain is changing the rules. They're being sent back to Vietnam and told to trust the communists.
Being a Vietnamese, and we have grown up and experienced communists in some way, I never believed in what they said. And I think many refugees who have been spent years with the communists, they're even more afraid than myself.
Christmas 1988 in the South China Sea. The Royal Hong Kong Police on one side, on the other a boat full of Vietnamese. Two worlds meet. One wears the rubber gloves. The other are those huddled masses yearning to breathe free. In the poet's phrase, the wretched refuse of a teeming shore. For the Hong Kong police, another interception among hundreds accomplished this year.
He can speak English. Do you want to stay in Hong Kong?
We want to stay in Hong Kong for a short time, and then go to other country.
So you want to stay in Hong Kong? So you want to stay in Hong Kong just now? Now you see this notice? See this notice here, right? Do you understand this?
Yeah, understand.
Do you want to go in this vessel?
Yes.
Or do you want to go in a different way?
The notice is quite clear. New arrivals no longer enjoy the status of refugees, but they opt all the same for British protection. The only real alternative is the deep blue sea. These boat people gave up everything to reach Hong Kong. Now another anguished process begins. In more sense than one, they've burnt their boats.
You have no chance to get your boat back. You understand? But lower all the rubbish, only the valuable property.
Like it or not, they will now be subject to British authority for the foreseeable future. There were 66 people on this river barge. It took them 16 days to sail from North Vietnam. Their possessions were pitiful. In the past, all this was endured for the chance of freedom in the West. But now Britain, still in charge of Hong Kong, has changed the rules. These 66, intercepted this morning, now join 10,000 Vietnamese already caught up by the new policy. They face literally years of detention while their cases are processed, and the vast majority face a compulsory return to the country they've just fled. Britain's policy shift towards the boat people results from a tidal wave of arrivals during 1988. Hong Kong took over 100,000 boat people in a decade, but Western countries have been increasingly slow to offer them permanent homes. We take 20 a month. Then this year alone, 17,000 more arrived here.
Hong Kong, as you know, is a very densely populated place, small place, with already a problem of illegal immigrants from China, which we have to send back immediately. No question asked, just send back, repatriation immediately. But on the other hand, we are opening our doors for the Vietnamese refugees, and we don't know how many more will come. So we are really forced into a situation that we have to change the policy. And yet, we don't want to push them off to sea. So the only viable option is to implement this new policy whereby they would not get refugee status automatically on arrival.
Britain's new policy signals the failure of the old. In an industrial town in Hong Kong's new territories, a factory building like scores of others. It used to make electric fans. It now houses 3,000 refugees. These were part of the overflow arrangements adopted by a desperate Hong Kong government earlier this year. Conditions here have been condemned by the United Nations as unfit for human habitation. Most of the refugees, including young children, never leave the factory. They have no direct sunlight and health problems are severe. The factory refugees have until recently been rigorously confined to the camp, a policy aimed at deterring fresh arrivals. And yet, in Hong Kong's refugee world, these are supposed to be the lucky ones. All arrive before the government's new deadline of June 16th, and so qualify, if anyone will have them, for settlement abroad. Sister Christine Mi Han of the Good Shepherd Order is herself Vietnamese. She's worked closely with the refugees for years. She's troubled by many aspects of British policy, but mostly by the new decision to send the boat people back.
It is for me, as to see as a Vietnamese, it is very painful and very tough. We rather see that the government here said that we don't accept any more refugees. You look for some other places. And we willing to die in the sea than just to come here and be locked up and wait for repatriation. Because for us, we're scared of the government in Vietnam.
These are the unlucky ones. They arrived after the June deadline, and very few will qualify as refugees.
They're economic migrants. They're not refugees. Now, refugee is defined as having a well-founded fear of persecution. And most of these people don't have that. The screening will demonstrate that one way or the other, but our impression is that most people don't have that well-founded fear of persecution. They're simply in search of a better life. There's no harm in that, and I understand that. But Hong Kong is not the place to provide it.
Erskine is a former army camp in Hong Kong. It's one of 4 major detention centres housing the 10,000 boat people who have arrived since the deadline. Officials say that only a tiny proportion of them will qualify as genuine refugees. The rest will have to go back to Vietnam. Hong Kong has simply run out of patience with the boat people. In the meantime, they wait for that tiny chance that government screening will admit them after all. They may wait for years, and the odds are less than 1 in 10.
We have nothing to do, we can't go anywhere, we don't have a job, and we can't earn money. And we must worry about the future.
But the truth, Nang, is that most of the people here will be repatriated to Vietnam. That is the truth, isn't it?
Yes, it's that the Hong Kong government say at this moment, but most of her hope they will change their policy.
There is frankly no prospect of the British changing their policy. The question is, how rigorously will they implement it? Are we really intending to send the boat people back by force?
We're not talking about compulsion at this stage at all. All we're saying is that they are being presented with the reality of the choices, that only the genuine refugees, a handful, can have the prospect of going on to the rest of the world. The rest of them will be detained in those camps in Hong Kong because there's no alternative prospect, but under constant encouragement to return to their own country. We had to change the whole balance of the policy that way, otherwise we should have had tens of thousands of people flowing into Hong Kong in the expectation that the rest of the world was going to take them. We had to make it very clear that that was a future that could not and did not exist.
Do you ever reach a stage where you might actually have to compel people to go back?
We're a very long way away from answering that question in that way. What we're saying is Hong Kong, the most crowded place in the world, can't deal with Vietnamese boat people who are not refugees any differently from the way in which every other country deals with people who are seeking unlawfully to emigrate to another country.
This is Hong Kong's prison island of Hai Ling Chau, with the largest concentration of new boat people. This is where they're taken for vetting.
It's a truism that justice delayed is justice denied. The government itself has said that it may take up to 4 years or even longer to get through the people who are already here, the 9,000 or so who've arrived since this screening policy was introduced in June. Now, to have people waiting for 4 or more years without trial for a decision on their fate, some might say is a very fundamental injustice anyway.
The Hong Kong government has started broadcasting in Vietnamese direct to Vietnam. The objective is to publicise the new policy and help staunch the flow of boat people. British deterrence is endorsed in Vietnam itself.
Như vậy, tất cả số người này đều phải qua đợt thẩm tra phân loại. Và rồi đây, tất cả những người đó không phù hợp với tiêu chuẩn người tị nạn do Liên Hợp Quốc quy định.
A naval patrol off North Vietnam's spectacular coastline. There's no external enemy in view. The purpose is to keep people in. The only way a Vietnamese can legally leave the country for good is through the so-called orderly departure program. But it's accounted for only a fraction of those who have wanted to go. This turned out to be an innocent fishing trip, but it's been a busy year for this patrol. The officer commanding is quite clear about his task.
Về vấn đề này thì trong toàn tỉnh, tất cả ở tỉnh Quảng Ninh, ở địa phương nào cũng tiến hành bắt. Nhưng riêng phòng cảnh sát giao thông chúng tôi trong năm qua, chúng tôi đã bắt 7 vụ, trong đó 225 người đã xuất cảnh bất hợp pháp bằng con đường biển.
No small naval force, however dutiful, could police Vietnam's 1,200-mile coastline. More than 1 million Vietnamese have slipped away into international waters in the past 13 years. The first major exodus of boat people to Hong Kong was from South Vietnam in 1979, 4 years after its fall to the Communists. They're still coming from the ports of Da Nang and Hue in the Old South. But this year, most of the 18,000 to reach Hong Kong came from Haiphong and Quang Ninh province in northern Vietnam, which have been under communist rule for a generation. Only now is Vietnam coming to terms with the meaning of this exodus. Over the years, Vietnam has developed a virtual refugee culture, a hemorrhaging of talent and manpower. People have boarded the frailest of boats. Thousands have been lost to storms and pirate attacks, all for the chance of a life in the West. With some already abroad, there's pressure on others to make the voyage, sometimes to reunite divided families. The northerners among them cannot realistically claim a fear of persecution. They flee other things, backwardness and poverty, economic mismanagement on a grand scale, and recent disastrous harvests. To establish a new generation in the wealthy West. They also flee a country burdened by its past. At times, Vietnam seems to be fighting its last war. A practice drill for a SAM missile battery guarding the capital Hanoi against foreigners. Vietnam supports one of the world's largest standing armies, swallowing half the nation's income. And yet the impact of war is still remarkably real. American bombing destroyed 2/3 of Vietnam's productive capacity, and most of it has never been restored. Along with post-war dreams of regional dominion has gone a prickly isolation. Only now, with political upheaval in the rest of the communist world, is Vietnam's outlook changing. There's glasnost here too, except they call it Tu Doi Moi, new thinking. There's a new interest in better relations with the West. Vietnam urgently needs aid. 20 years after his death, Ho Chi Minh is still revered, still wears a halo, and yet Vietnam is slowly turning away from his legacy.
By any yardstick, Vietnamese communism, symbolized in the mausoleum of its founding father Ho Chi Minh, has been one of the most potent political forces of our time. In 30 years of war, it brought defeat to France on the battlefield and inflicted terrible humiliation upon the United States. To secure those military achievements, Hanoi constructed one of the toughest, most uncompromising, least pitying government systems in the world. It's to that system that Britain now proposes to take the lead in sending back the boat people.
4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2.
A special prison in the northern coastal province of Quang Ninh, never before visited by foreigners. These prisoners have one thing in common. They were all caught trying to leave the country illegally. These are the boat people who failed to get away. Under Vietnamese law, they have committed a serious offence. It was communist Vietnam that taught the world about re-education in the years after its military victory over the South. This morning's lesson is simply about prison camp rules. But re-education is a formal part of dealing with captured boat people. So what can Britain's boat people expect when they are sent back from Hong Kong? Some say they fear death. Others are terrified at the prospect of punishment. Still others are worried about more subtle forms of discrimination from local party officials. Vietnam's foreign minister is expansively reassuring.
If they come back legally, they are not punished. Only if they are living illegally, they are punished. So it is very contradictory. But we must respect our agreement with the Hong Kong authorities.
But no re-education program?
No. Why? To what purpose? To discourage the people who are willing to come back? No. It is not our policy.
The Vietnamese and British governments agreed in October that a start to repatriation from Hong Kong should be made by the end of the year. 450 boat people caught up by the new rules agreed to go voluntarily. Of those who originally agreed to go, 100 have already changed their minds. Thousands more simply do not accept Vietnamese assurances.
We have spoken to many boat people, of course, in Hong Kong, and they say that they simply do not trust your government. Now, what is your response to that?
Up to them. They can try. Because now there are about some 100 people who would like to be back. So if they would like to try, send first 50 or 30 or 1 dozen, then they can have a test for 3 years, then others will come back.
For those who volunteer to return, Britain is going to fund a modest aid package to help them back into Vietnam's rural economy. The scheme will be organised by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, who will also monitor the treatment of returning boat people. But this monitoring so far applies only to those few who have volunteered. The British policy of repatriation is still faced with the thousands who will not go willingly. Certainly volunteering in the communist world has its own connotations. When this irrigation ditch had to be dug deeper, the party called upon local people to volunteer. Unsurprisingly, the local people did. But pressure of this sort is supposed to be foreign to the Western way of doing things. So what happens to the thousands of boat people in Hong Kong who are certain to be declared illegal immigrants and thus liable to be sent back here? Britain may force them as a last resort, but then there may be no arrangements on the ground to guarantee their safety. The UN have told us that they can't support a forced return. Even the Vietnamese say they draw the line at compulsion.
It is not under the agreement between Vietnam and the Hong Kong authorities in London, you know.
Are you saying, Minister, that Vietnam only accepts those who volunteer to return?
Yes, this is agreed.
That you...
Agreed between Vietnam and Hong Kong authorities in London. No?
That you will not be accepting those who do not volunteer, those who are declared to be illegal immigrants who may be compulsorily repatriated.
Can you force them to be back? Nobody. It is against the humanitarian human rights, you know.
On Britain's part, it's hoped that conditions in Vietnam itself might help resolve the political problem of what to do with the boat people. The government seems prepared to wait, calculating that they may recognise the inevitable and agree to return voluntarily. Changes here could give greater weight to Vietnamese assurances.
Communist Vietnam is itself changing, just as communism has learnt the folly of its ways in other countries. So in Vietnam itself you find people saying, look, we realise that our policies are folly. We're seeking advice from the rest of the world as to how to change our economic policies. We're giving you assurances as to how these people will be treated on their return, and those assurances are being monitored by the UNHCR. It seems to me to be the only humane choice to offer these people who have in vain set off across the sea to Hong Kong.
Back in Hong Kong's Erskine camp, the evening meal has been called. In the next few weeks, the first volunteers will return to Vietnam. For the rest, the day of reckoning gets nearer. Indefinite detention or repatriation. The ugliness of the choice could, it's feared, prompt an ugly reaction.
We're going to be screening out a high percentage of these people, even after the objection process. The effect of that will be to deny them the one spark of hope that they've had. I think it's that one spark of hope which has made them very easy people to look after here. The camps have been very well run. There's been very little disorder. If you now have thousands of people with absolutely no hope except of going back to a country that they risk their lives to leave, I really wonder how Hong Kong is going to maintain order in the camps.
Out in Hong Kong waters, the Vietnamese river barge under police tow. Its former passengers are about to exchange life under communism for life in a British detention camp. Their new world will be a confined one. Their brightest lights this Christmas will be searchlights. They're offloaded at Green Island Reception Centre. The welcoming party wear disposable gloves. Delousing, medical checks, registration. The poet spoke of sending the homeless, the tempest-tossed to me, but not here, not now, no longer.